Hello. Welcome to another episode of Table for Us. So, before we get started today, I just want to give a huge shout out to Podbean, who is my platform for podcast hosting. If you've been thinking about starting your own podcast, check out the link in the description, okay? Now, today we are going to be talking about entrepreneurship, the real pros and cons that people don't usually talk about. But before we actually get into that, I want to make sure that I give all praise and glory to God because without Him, nothing that I do would be possible. Okay. So, just to jump into entrepreneurship, what I'm going to be talking about first is the pros of entrepreneurship. Okay. So, one of the things that has been so beneficial to me in being an entrepreneur is the freedom and flexibility. And by that, I mean, I have the freedom to do what I want to do. I have the flexibility because I am making my own schedule. I work for myself, so I have the ability to basically schedule my day however I want to schedule my day. And typically what I do is I actually put together a checklist of the things that I need to get done the night before, and then I just check them off. So that's my schedule. But if I don't feel like working, guess what? Because I work for myself, I don't have to work. I have 3 businesses, and one of them is fully on autopilot. So with that particular business, it's basically running itself. So if I wanted to, let's just say that was my only business and I wanted to go take a vacation or something like that for a few weeks, I could do that because that business is completely on autopilot. My other business is my tax and credit repair, which is a service business. So I am actually hands-on in that business. Soon I will be hiring and training a VA to basically take care of the data entry and training them on how to do stuff. So that way I don't have to worry about that. My other business, of course, is the podcast. And with the podcast, of course, I have to record, but everything else as far as the editing, the social media content, posting and all that, you can put that on autopilot. You can hire a VA to do everything for you, but you can put on autopilot. So when you are an entrepreneur, depending on what your business is, you can actually look at different tools that can help you with putting things on autopilot. Okay. So one of my things that I like to tell myself often, because when you're an entrepreneur, let me tell you, it gets hard. And we're going to get into the cons of entrepreneurship, but I just want to not leave you guys, but I want to give you guys a scripture that has helped me if you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur. It is Philippians 4:13, and it says that I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. That scripture is etched into my brain. I may not remember every other scripture verbatim, but I know different parts and so forth of the Bible. But I feel like this particular scripture is literally meant for entrepreneurs. It's meant for everybody, but when it comes to entrepreneur, there's going to be times where you're going to feel like I can't do this and I want to give up. Again, we'll get into that a little later, but make sure you write that down. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Okay. So we have freedom and we have flexibility. Huge pro, right? When it comes to being an entrepreneur. The other thing is full creative control. So since it is your business, you the boss, right? When it comes to your vision for the business, when it comes to your branding, when it comes to your logo, when it comes to your structure, it's all you. So you have complete and total creativity range, right? I will suggest this though. When you are thinking about your brand colors and your logo and so forth, do your research, okay? Look up different colors and what they represent or stand for when it comes to branding. So, for instance, the color red, right? It can mean different things. So, if your logo or your brand has red in it, it can mean fiery, urgent, excitement, like it can mean different things. Then there's also the flip side to the color red, right? The same with black. Black could be very elegant and simple, or it can also mean gloom or death. So do your research. So if you have some particular colors that you want to choose for your business, right? Think of those colors and then look them up, right? And see what those colors represent within your business, okay? The other thing that I recommend is thinking about your logo. Do you want it to be words? Do you want it to be words and an image? Do you want it to have just an icon and then the words of your business? So those are the things that you basically want to think about. But being an entrepreneur, you have complete and total creativity on figuring out how you want that to go. And some really good iconography that everybody knows, if you see that swoosh, what's that? Nike, okay? If you see that golden arch, McDonald's, right? If you see that bullseye, that red bullseye, for which we should not be shopping at right now, but that's Target, right? What's another one? If you see those three lines at a slant, right? Adidas. So there are very memorable iconographies out there that are represented by brands. So make sure whatever you're creating, it's something unique and it's something that is going to stand out. And when people see that, if they don't see the name, they see that icon, they know it's your business. Okay. So those are things basically to think about. And because you're the boss, you can make it however you want to make it. The other pro to being an entrepreneur is your legacy building. Okay. Now, in most cases, when people create a business and they have children, typically you want to pass that business down to your children, and they might not want it, right? But by starting that business, you're building financial freedom, right? For which you can set up other things for your children. My biggest goal is to be able to secure 7 properties that I will put in each one of my children's names, and that will be theirs. So they can be rental properties. Basically, that's what they're going to be. They're going to be rental properties. But I want to be able to pass that to my children. Like this house, my very first investment that I did was my house that I live in now. And that's going to be a whole other episode talking about home ownership versus renting and so forth. But it was a major accomplishment for me because I didn't grow up in a house that my mom or my parents owned. My grandmother didn't have a home that she owned. It was renting, like generational renters. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I wanted something that was mine. And then most people be like, okay, but you're paying a mortgage and all that. So technically it's not yours. It is mine. Unless I default on that mortgage, then they can take my home. But not to get too much into home ownership, it's an investment as well. Because when you buy your home builds equity over time. And you could take that equity if you wanted to invest in other things. I literally just wanted this home because I just wanted, in the event that something happened to me, I didn't want to have to worry about where my children are going to go. So I have life insurance, trust account, all that stuff set up to whereas whatever the remaining balance on my home is, the trust will make sure that it's paid off and my children have a home to live in. Because of course, when you're renting, it's not yours. So you got to go, right? Depending on where you're at. So real estate is a good thing to invest in when you have your business. So you want to take money from the profits of your business and go ahead and invest that either into rental property, fix and flips, buying land. Land, let me tell you something. The world that we live in is not producing any more land. Now, homes can be torn down and rebuilt, but they can't produce more land. So I strongly encourage you when you're starting your business, think about investing in land. And you could purchase some land and then lease it out. It's yours, you own it, but you lease it out to, let's say, a construction company who wants to build on it, right? You don't want to sell it. I'm gonna lease it to y'all, so y'all gonna be paying me to have this structure on my land. So that's an investment. You can also invest in other businesses. One thing that I know a lot of people have been doing when I'm looking at social media is a lot of people are talking about vending businesses and laundromats, car washes. Those are things that you can invest in. The biggest thing right now is Airbnb. It's ways to basically invest in different things, have some additional income coming in. So you have that legacy that you're building for your family or your children to be able to pass down generational wealth. Another thing that you can do with your business is you can invest in insurance and you can do it's called They have whole life insurance, they have IULs, they have, of course, your term life insurance, but you can invest in like an IUL or a whole life insurance, and that's going to build you some cash value that you can also take and invest in something else. Okay. So that legacy that you build is it's going to impact the people that come after you, right? So you want to build something that is going to last and that is going to build that generational wealth that you can be able to pass down to not only your children, but even your children's children. Okay. So that is a big pro to being an entrepreneur. The other thing is your personal growth. Okay. So one thing that I can say, it's been like this when it comes to being an entrepreneur. So it's grown me in many areas that I didn't realize I needed to grow in. It has elevated me in my drive and my goals because I am now depending on my business when it comes to my livelihood. Okay. So I don't have a 9 to 5. I do not encourage anybody to quit their 9 to 5 to start a business. I was at a job for almost 10 years and I was laid off. And I had a plan that at some point I wanted to quit and just completely just focus on my business. But God had a different plan. It happened sooner than I had anticipated. So I had to figure things out. And I'm going to get into that when we get to to the con. But it's been tough, right? So with my personal growth, it has definitely taught me to be resilient, to be stronger than I've ever been. But most importantly, it has taught me to have more faith. Okay. I've always been a God fearing woman and brought up in church and religion and so forth. But being an entrepreneur has really taught me to lean in more on God, and it has grown my faith. And sometimes I have those moments where I'm just like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do it slow, slow. And then it's like God's talking to me and he's telling me, hey, what are you supposed to be doing? You're supposed to be trusting me. You're supposed to be leaning on me. You're supposed to have that faith. So I switch gears and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna trust that everything is gonna work out and he got me, right? And when I do that, it's like new client coming in, new sale comes in. So it's definitely, you gotta have that faith. You gotta be strong to continue to push forward. Another thing that was really big with me in being an entrepreneur is what I really love is, again, that flexibility to be able to show up for my children. So I am a mom of 7. Okay. I have 7 children. 4 of my children are grown, and then I have 3 younger ones. Last year, my boys had an end of the year assembly, and it's a pretty big thing because they get a certificate for bringing up their grades as well as the honor roll. So you have honor roll and then bringing up grades. So they get a bug award is what they call it, bring up grade. And my boys were so excited that they were going to get an award because they brought up one of their grades. I don't know which one it was. I feel like one brought up their grade in math, like 2 grades. And then the other one, I feel like it was science. I don't remember exactly which subjects it were, but they brought their grades up. And I get there, it's middle of the day, something I wouldn't have been able to do when I'm working a 9 to 5. I probably would have been able to, but I would have had to request the time off or try to see if I could switch my lunch around and figure things out. But being an entrepreneur and I'm the boss, if I need to go do something, I could just do it. So I show up and I'm sitting off to the corner and they didn't see me, right? But I can tell they're looking for me. And as soon as they saw me and they locked in, it was like this excitement on their face that like, oh, mommy's here or whatever. And that just warmed my heart because with my older children, I was always working. So there was a lot of things that I missed because I couldn't take off. And there was some things I was able to make it to, but I had to pick and choose because like I gotta work, right? Gotta pay these bills and things like that. But with being an entrepreneur, it gives you so much flexibility to show up and be there for your children. And like I said, if you want to take a vacation, you can take a vacation, depending on, again, what your business is. because there's a lot of service businesses out there. And with a service business, it's hard to take time off because you're the one doing the service, right? But if you, let's say, I'm going to use a barber for an example, right? So you're a barber, you're cutting hair, right? That's a service business. So you provide a service. So taking off, you're not making any money, right? Because you're not cutting anybody's hair. But what you can do is, if you've been doing what you've been doing for a long time, let's say you've been a barber for 10, 15, 20 years, right? You've built knowledge and skills. Teach somebody else how to do that. Have a class. Because there's a lot of people, women, men, that want to know how to cut hair. Or if you're a hairstylist, or if you're a makeup artist, right? And you have these skills and techniques that you've learned over the years, teach somebody else how to do that. So when now you're stepping into a different form of revenue, okay? So you have your service, you get paid when you do that. And then now you're teaching, right? So you can host some classes, maybe a few a month, right? And probably make 3 times what you're making cutting hair. So now you can say, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take a 2-week vacation because I've made more than what I normally would make and I have that money now. Okay. Another thing that you can do, and this is something I've been talking to my daughter about. She's a licensed cosmetologist and she specializes in braids, twists, locks, faux locks. She does all of it, right? But she specializes in those things. And I was talking to her about teaching, but I was also saying, hey, you buy a lot of products to do your client's hair, whether it's oil, hair oils, or edge control stuff. And I'm like, you can literally make your own and then sell it, or you can go buy in bulk and get your reseller's license and resell a lot of the stuff that you use for your clients to be, instead of them going out and buying it somewhere else, they just purchase it from you. So as a hairstylist, a barber, even a nail tech, go buy cuticle oil in bulk or something, or create your own and sell it to your clients. I know, like for me, when I get my nails done, they look horrible right now because I'm taking a break from getting them done. But my cuticles are like always dry and rough, and I be needing some oil. There's different things that you can do as a service person to create additional revenue streams. You can also, what's something else? Just different things that you know that your client would need, right? After they've come in and got whatever service they're getting, buy that stuff in bulk, sell it to your clients. Okay. So now let's get into the cons of being an entrepreneur. One of the biggest cons that nobody ever really talks about, and it drives me crazy because I'm actually going through that right now. This is a slow quarter for me with my main business, which is taxes and credit repair, because it's like right before the holidays and everybody's scrambling with money, and any money that they have, of course, is going to go to Christmas shopping, right? So nobody is, and especially with taxes, tax season is end of January to May. So money's tight for everybody right now, which means money is tight for me. And one of the biggest cons of entrepreneurship is the slow times when you don't have money. Okay. So it's the financial instability, basically, where when it's good, it's good. And when it's slow and there's nothing going on, let me tell you, and you don't know where that next dollar is coming from, it is slow, which is why I really want to stress it's important to have other streams of income. You can be a master in what it is that you do, but still have other things on the side to bring in additional money. Okay. So like me, like I said, I have 2 other businesses outside of the podcast. I have one other business outside of the podcast. I'm sorry. Let me say that. I just started the podcast, but I have my tax and credit repair business, and then I have my design and print business. My design and print business I've actually had, it just made literally 6 years last month in August. Like actual business, right? Functioning, registered, all the stuff as a business. My tax business, I have been doing taxes for over 20 years, but it was always a side thing for me. It started with me doing my taxes myself and then turned into family, then friends, and then referring me to other people and so forth. Just when I got laid off, it became an actual business. I formed it into LLC and all that good stuff a couple years ago. and then I added credit repair like 3 years ago. But my print and design business that I've had for 6 years was my first business. And it was literally like it was a service business because I was doing all the work. I was doing the designs. I was at the time I had my printer, I had my cry cut, I had my heat press, I had my sewing machine because I was doing a lot of custom things. I had a client who wanted to have a custom denim apron because they were a caterer. So they wanted a custom denim apron and they wanted their logo on it. And I got the material to make the apron from scratch. I need to find a picture of that. It was really nice. And then I put their logo on it. And I used basically transfer paper. I didn't have, now they have DTF and all that stuff, but I didn't have that, right? And then I ended up getting my cry cut. So my cry cut made it easier where I was doing like the heat press and vinyl and stuff. And I had my children basically helping me. After a while, and I remember I'm telling you, my four oldest, they're grown. So as they start getting older, they were doing their own thing. So now just everything fell on me as far as t-shirt orders, custom orders. I was doing party packages, so t-shirts. And this was like when I first started, it was right before the pandemic. So when things started opening back up, I was doing face masks and things of that sort. And just last year, I came across a young lady and Bougie Barbie, and she put me on to print on demand, and it has changed my life. That's how I've been able to put my print business on autopilot. I still do all the designing and stuff. This is actually one of my shirts that I designed, and what I do is I just partner with a print on demand vendor. When an order comes through my Etsy store, and that was the other thing, I didn't even have an Etsy store or any type of store. So people were just messaging me when they wanted orders. So now they can go through my Etsy store, they can place an order. And when they place that order, because I'm already connected with the print on demand vendor, that order goes to them. They fulfill it. They get it printed up with DTF. I also have some embroidery items as well. And they also ship it out for me. And I don't do anything other than I do the designs, I upload it, put it on different things, and that's that. So by me having that, because it's flow right now with my other businesses, I have my print on demand business, my design and print business, where I've still got money coming in from there. It's not as much as my taxes and so forth brings in, but it's an additional stream of revenue because you definitely have those moments where it's going to be slow. I can't stress this enough that you do not want to rely on one stream of income, okay? When you have enough money, try to find something to invest in to bring in some additional money, right? Whether it's rental property, I have some people who they do stock. I used to look at stock when I was younger, but I've fallen off, so I really don't understand it. But make sure you get somebody. Actually, it's not even stock. I think it's trading. Same thing. So that's something that some people do. But my mentor, because I was in the Grant Cardone mentorship program, he literally said you want to have several streams of revenue coming in. So keep that in mind, several. So you can have your main business and then you have other little side things or whatever going on. I'm also a notary. So I do notary jobs as well on the side. And that's just some extra stuff. And then I'm a wedding officiant. So those are just little side things that I do. I wouldn't really call those a business. It's just, okay, when other things are slow, I always have some type of money basically coming in. Okay. So when you're looking at things online on social media and you have those people talking about 7-figure month and 6-figure month and 5-figure month and all that stuff like that, you can have that, but it's going to take you some time to get there. And you're going to have moments where you have $10 months. Okay. So I just want you to keep that in mind. It's one of the biggest things that nobody really talks about, the grind when it comes to the money. Okay. The other thing is a con with being an entrepreneur is isolation. I had to really put myself honestly in isolation so that I can truly focus on what it was that I was trying to do. Because honestly, I was treating my business. At this point, I have a business, but I was treating it like it was a hobby. So it was paying me like it was a hobby because I'm trying to go here and do that and all that stuff. And I had to literally put myself in isolation mode and say, okay, you have to focus in on what it is that you are trying to accomplish. You have a goal and you need to focus on that. Okay. The other thing is, once you have done that and now you have that laser focus, I honestly say one of the things that you really want to do is surround yourself with like-minded individuals. They're on the East Coast. I miss them so much, but I have a small handful of people who are also entrepreneurs, go-getters, and all the stuff. And we touch bases from time to time on the phone, but you want to have a circle of people who are on the same page as you, or even better, on this page that you're trying to get to, because they can tell you some things that you don't know. They're going to be they're going to hold you accountable. They're going to be your inspiration for where it is that you're trying to go. But you do not want to surround yourself or stay in surroundings with individuals who are nowhere on the same page as you, because that's going to make you procrastinate. Okay. But when you become an entrepreneur, because people I won't say everybody, but you're going to have people who don't understand what it is you're doing, right? They're not going to understand, why are you doing this? You need to go get a job, or you need to do this, you need to do that. Or if you tell them, oh, it's been so hard, girl, you need to stop that whole entrepreneur thing. You need to go and get you a job, right? They're not going to understand what it is that you're trying to do and the dedication that it takes to be an entrepreneur. So you're going to have some people that are going to fall off, right? And then you're going to go through a process where you're just going to have to cut some people off. So yes, isolation is a big thing. It's my therapist, God and therapy, God and therapy. Everybody needs it. But my therapist actually told me that it's lonely at the top. She quoted that. And I've heard that before. I think I've heard it in a song, or it was in a movie or something. And I never really thought about it outside of hearing it being said until becoming an entrepreneur. It is lonely at the top. It is lonely at the top, but it doesn't have to be. When you start surrounding yourself around people of where you're trying to get, it's going to be lonely at the top, because those people that you've always surrounded yourself with are not going to be there anymore. So you have that piece of entrepreneurship. The other thing is being overloaded, being burnt out. When you start as an entrepreneur, let me tell you something. You are the marketer person. You are the branding person. You are the finance person. You are the design person. You are everything. You wear multiple hats until you get your business to a place where you are bringing in enough money to then hire individuals. But until you get there, you are everybody. And burnout is so real. I have been learning so much different things that I need to do and construct within my businesses since I've been in the isolation mode. I literally, like I said earlier, I will, the day before, think about all the things that I need to get done. And I put them into a task checklist. Before, I would just be trying to do everything all in one day. But by putting it in a task checklist, I can say, okay, this I want to get done tomorrow. This I can get done the day after that. Like, it gives me that visual to be able to see what I need to actually focus on versus what can wait a day or two, instead of burning myself out trying to get everything done in one day. I am still tired. I still have tired moments because I do try to put too much on my plate. But I will say it's best to have a task agenda for yourself so you don't get burnt out. And then when you have enough funds coming in from your business to hire, let's say, a contractor or a virtual assistant to take care of some of the admin stuff, then you need to do that. Again, I do not recommend anybody, I repeat, quit your 9 to 5. Do not do that. Use your job to fund your business. If you know you want to start a business and you want to be self-employed and work for yourself at some point, use your business to fund your job. Use your job to fund your business. And then once you have I would say double your salary coming in from the business. Then at that point, you can think about switching to just working for yourself. But try to use some of that money from the business once it grows, like I said, to invest in other things so that you have a healthy cushion for those slow times where the funds are not coming in for the business. Okay. So another thing that is a con with being an entrepreneur is the uncertainty of whatever your market is. Okay. So, like for me, I know with my tax business, funds are going to be low from June until beginning of January. But with the credit repair part of my business, it's very uncertain, right? I don't know if I'm going to have X amount of clients in every month or every week and so forth. I just keep working to get that. So depending on what your market is, it's very uncertain on when you're going to have good quarters versus when you're going to have the slow quarters. Now, for my design and print business, it's booming. Like I have orders coming through all year, but it's booming towards the end of the year because a lot of the things that I provide are custom designs. You can come to me, you can ask for a custom design. I do a lot of personalizations and people like those type of things as gift options. So depending on what your business is, you're going to have uncertainty. You're going to have those times where you're just not knowing if the market is good. Let's say you have a nonprofit or not even nonprofit, you can have an LLC and you are trying to get some funding from grants. So you might get rejected from those grants, but you might have been depending on that money to come in. Yes, I'm going to get this grant. And that's another thing. Don't depend on anything until it's actually in your account. It's a projection, it's a forecast. It's not set in stone. So when you're doing your business and your finances and all that good stuff, let me just use myself as an example for tax time, right? Right now, or this past year, or since it's been almost 2 years now since I've been full-time entrepreneur, I went from 30,000 during tax time to this year, was it 55? I think it was 55,000 because I started marketing and I offered an incentive program for anybody who referred somebody, then they would get a referral fee. So I started stepping up my marketing. So that's another thing you have to think about is different ways to bring in new clients or sales without having to spend a lot of money out of your pocket. So a form of bootstrapping where you're growing, but without having to pay for ads and things of that sort. So I use my clients that I already had because they had been my clients and they were happy with my services, I decided to incentivize what they were already doing because they were already referring me to people. But I decided to say, hey, you refer somebody, they come to me, and they get their taxes done. And once they pay for their tax prep fees, I will give you $100 for referring them to me. And they were like, what? So in addition to them already telling people, they just started telling even more people. So that grew my tax client business. But so I know between those times that it's certain, but then there's other times where it's okay, what other services can I add to the business that will bring in additional money throughout the year? And if I don't get that, then I have to really say, okay, for this amount of time during tax season, I'm getting this amount of money. So I need to make this spread, right, throughout the entire year to last. So the things basically that you have to really worry about when it comes to being an entrepreneur. And these are things that I have been learning over the past 2 years because, again, I always had a 9 to 5. So my business was just a side business. So being a full-time entrepreneur, there are amazing pros to it, but you have to also consider the cons that come along with it as well. Don't look at what people are saying on social media, just sharing all of that. I got this much money and they spread money around and all that stuff. But it took them time to get to that place. Okay. It did not happen overnight. And that's the other thing. Your business is not going to bring in six figures overnight, but that does not mean give up. When you do have those slow moments, when you do have those times where you haven't gotten a dollar in from the business, do not give up. You have to stick with it. You have to keep going. Okay. Because that is going to be the only thing that is going to make your business get to where you're trying to get it to, is by keep going. Okay. Have faith that it's going to work out. Keep God in the midst of everything that you're doing, and He will bless your business. But first, ask God if what the business you want to do is what you should be doing. Because when I was working my 9 to 5, I was an accountant. I have a degree in accounting. I've been doing accounting since I was in high school. So I'm 47 years old now. I've been doing accounting since I was a junior. So I was about 16, 17. So we're talking 30 years of me doing accounting, and I was good at it. A teacher was the one who recommended me for this program that we had in high school. My first summer internship, my senior year, was working at Charles Schwab, working on bank reconciliations. And I was good at it. And I saw that it paid good money. So I just stuck with it because it paid the bills. But I wasn't happy. Over time, it was like, okay, I'm making this money, it's paying the bills, but I'm not serving a purpose. I'm not making a difference. I grew up in the projects, in a community-based project, and there were so many things that I learned and was exposed to coming up as far as community and helping and serving the community and things like that. And with my accounting job, I didn't have any of that going on. At some point, we did have volunteer hours where you can go and do some community service through the job, but it was company-wide type of stuff. But in my day-to-day life, I just felt like I'm not serving a purpose. I'm helping this company keep their books in order, but I have no meaning whatsoever to what it is I'm doing. So that was why I wanted to, at some point, just start working for myself. On top of the fact, I just was tired of micromanager bosses, but I wanted to help people. I wanted to serve people. So in what I do in my service business, I help individuals with their taxes. Yes, they're paying me for that service, but because of my accounting background, I do forensic accounting. I'm looking at every deduction, every credit that I can possibly can that applies to them to maximize their refund or to lower the amount of taxes that they owe. And then I also advise my clients, hey, I noticed this, you didn't have enough taxes that came out. So let's go ahead and change your withholdings to this. Yes, it's going to lower your paycheck by paycheck, but if you want a bigger refund, this is what we need to do. I do the same thing with my credit repair clients. I'm advising and educating them. I'm not just doing the work for them. So now I feel like I'm serving a purpose and I'm helping individuals. I was even able last year, actually, no, was that last year or this year? No, that was actually this year. I was able, and I have been wanting to do this for quite some time. I was able to go and speak to some seniors at a high school. I spoke to 8 senior classes to talk to them about the importance of credit, how to get it, how to maintain it, the do's and don'ts of credit, having a checking account, savings. We talked about investing, just things that they can comprehend at the age that they are, things that I wish somebody would have talked to me about, because nobody talks to me about the importance of credit. Nobody talks to me about saving or anything. When I would get my paycheck, let me tell you, I immediately went shopping when I was younger. And my credit cards, I got my first credit cards when I was a freshman in college. So I was, 19 when I went to college? Yeah, no, 18 and a half. When I went to college, and when you get up on the campus, they have all these tables set out, right? With balloons and all these free gifts. And they're like, hey, come here, sign up for this and you'll get this or these free that. So I'm signing up for everything, filling out all the applications because I wanted the free stuff. And then I get these credit cards in the mail and I'm like, oh, okay, check it. Your credit limit is whatever the credit limit was then at the time. So I'm like, oh, so I can use this. Now, I was a broke college student. I went to school and I worked at Radio Shack. And let me back up. I went to school in Atlanta first. And what happened was there was all these additional out-of-state fees. We already had exhausted all financial aid, so there was an out-of-pocket cost. And my mom couldn't pay that, so I had to come back. So when I came back, she was like, "You got accepted into San Jose State." I'm like, "I don't want to go to San Jose State. I really want to go to San Francisco State, but I didn't get accepted in San Francisco State. I got accepted into San Jose State." So I'm like, "All right, let me just go ahead and take it." And because I came back late in the semester, I had to commute. So my credit cards literally got used for gas, food, food, and gas, and a couple of books that I needed for school. I never made a payment, so I ran up my credit limits and I never made a payment. Nobody explained to me about keeping my balance low, making my payment on time. I think I made a few payments. So I was able to go and talk to some students at the age right before I messed my credit up. And it was so amazing asking them questions. And some, they knew some things. And then some were like, "Oh, okay." And then they would have a follow-up question. A lot of them already had jobs and checking accounts. It was amazing. I just literally felt like I'm doing something meaningful. I'm helping the community. So when you're, whatever it is your business it is that you're doing, one thing I will say is do not forget the communities. It's also a tax write-off. I'm not telling you to give to the communities for the tax write-off, but I'm just saying if you give back from your heart, it is considered a charitable contribution. So you're able to write that off on your taxes. So think of it as, hey, I'm benefiting something, but I'm really doing this because this is what I want to do. Okay? Those are pretty much my tips of things that I can give you guys. And I hope that this episode was something that encourages you, but not discourage you from being an entrepreneur, but just gives you the entire picture of both sides of being an entrepreneur. I want to encourage also being an entrepreneur, take some self days because that burnout stuff is really real. I try to really take a 3-day weekend every other week if I can. As long as I don't have stuff piling up, I'm like, okay, I don't feel like working. I'm gonna go do something for myself. Have those moments where you focus on self-care. And once you have enough money coming in, get a contractor or a VA so you don't burn out. That would be the biggest thing that I can really leave with you. And make sure you have some little side stuff that can bring you some additional money when the business is slow. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much my episode. I want to say thank you for listening to my podcast episode today. If you are someone who has a story you want to tell or you've thought about starting a podcast, then I encourage you to sign up for Podbean. I am going to put the links below where you can sign up for them using my link, and you can actually get a free month of using their platform to see if it's something that you actually enjoy. I love it because it allows me to be able to push to other streaming platforms in one place. So right now my podcast pushes to Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And then I also have it on, of course, on YouTube. Go ahead and check that link out below. I pray that everyone has a blessed weekend, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Also, I also want to say, if you are somebody who would like to showcase your business, you already have a business and you would like to be part of our Boss Talk Spotlight, then there will be a link below also where you can fill that out and come on and talk about your business. Or if you would like to be a guest on our podcast show and share your story, then also there will be a link below where you can fill out an interest form. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hi, so my name is Nicolette Royal, or Nicole Johnson for legal purposes. Royal is my father's last name, but my mom gave me my dad's last name, but I use it now with my businesses, and I am the owner of Royal Legacy Services. Royal Legacy Services is a tax prep and tax advisory credit repair business. I started this business, I started doing taxes maybe about 20 years ago, and I treat it as a hobby. It was always a side gig for me. It wasn't until 2 years ago that I decided to go full in with my business when I got laid off. So I provide tax services for personal taxes. I provide tax services for small businesses. I provide tax advice. So with the tax advice, I typically try to give people tips and advice on what they need to do in the year before tax season. So different things that you and strategies that you can implement now will help you with tax savings, tax deductions, and credits and so forth when tax season comes around. I added credit repair about 3 years ago as a service to my tax business. And the reason being was because I had so many tax clients that I would hear when I would have a consultation with them. They would say, as soon as I get my money, I'm going to pay this off, or I'm going to do this so that I can fix my credit. So I felt like it was an opportunity to add credit repair services so that I could help them with their taxes and their credit. One of the things that really helped me in my business is I was my first client. So I started doing my own taxes myself. And then that turned into me doing taxes for family members and then friends. And pretty much everybody that I have currently literally is a referral. I might have a few people that found me on like Yelp or Facebook or something like that. But majority of my clients that I have, they were referred to me by somebody else. The same with credit repair. I actually went to an actual credit repair company before I was about to buy my house. And they got a couple of things off, but they didn't educate me on the importance of how to build my credit back up. They didn't educate me on the different consumer laws or anything of that sort. They just was like, pay me this money and we're going to do this. Pay this money to enroll. And I believe they had like a paper delete type of thing. So I decided to do credit repair differently. I probably overshare with my clients. I probably whelm them with things, but I want them to know everything that I know so that they can make sure that they don't get back into the same predicament that they're in when they come to me. So I make sure that they know about what makes up their credit score. I make sure that they know that in addition to me getting negative items removed, that they also need to now establish new credit. So I have a list of credit building accounts that I refer them to, and I walk them through the entire process. I also have an ebook that I typically tell new clients, potential clients, right? I tell them, hey, here's an ebook. If you want to work on your credit yourself, you can. And here's the steps on how to do that. So I'll share the link with my Stan store where you can actually purchase my ebook. You'll also have a link on how you can reach me. You will What else am I going to share? So my number is 702-969-3605. That is my business number. That is how you can reach me, or you can go to Royal Legacy Services, so svcs.com, and you can go ahead and schedule a consultation with me, and I will look at everything that you have going on, whether it's your taxes. I do back taxes. I try to stay away from amendments. If I didn't file your taxes, I typically don't like redoing somebody else's stuff, but I can look at it and look it over and see if it's something that I can help you with. The tax advice, I typically, if you have a business, I love people who have small businesses because there is so much that you are able to claim as a deduction under your business. So those are all the things that I will walk you through and talk you through when you have a consultation with me. Nicole Johnson or Nicole Royal with Royal Legacy Services.